Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we dive into The Fate of Food by Amanda Little, an enlightening exploration into the future of our food system amid a world of growing populations and climate challenges. Little, an award-winning environmental journalist and professor, uses her investigative prowess to ask the pressing question: can we innovate a food supply that's clean, climate resilient, and sufficient for our needs? The Fate of Food dissects the intersection of technology and sociology in our quest to sustainably and ethically feed billions. As someone deeply involved in environmental discourse, Little's insights are underpinned by her extensive experience, with contributions to publications like the New York Times Magazine and Vanity Fair. Her academic role at Vanderbilt University further cements her expertise in navigating complex scientific dialogues, which she threads through the narrative with compelling clarity. This episode is a must-listen for anyone who cares deeply about the environmental impact of industrial agriculture, food enthusiasts curious about the journey from farm to table, and science aficionados eager to stay informed on the latest advancements in agricultural science. Join us as we uncover the intricate web of choices, technologies, and policies that will shape the fate of our food and our world. The Fate of Food: What We'll Eat in a Bigger, Hotter, Smarter World. Introduction. Adapting to a Changing World. Rethinking Food Sustainability and Security. Imagine your next trip to the grocery store, only to find that the shelves that once overflowed with fresh fruits, vegetables, and your favorite coffee are now sparsely stocked, and prices have skyrocketed. This could be the stark reality as climate change ushers in erratic weather patterns, deeply impacting agriculture across the globe. The threat isn't just about the availability of our daily bread. It's about the impending food crisis that looms as the human population is expected to balloon to nearly 10 billion by 2050, particularly in regions like Africa and China. Faced with the dual pressures of thinning supplies and surging demand, food producers, scientists, and environmental activists are compelled to consider radical transformations in our food system. What will it take to nourish the world of tomorrow? An appetite for innovation, tackling the food waste paradox. What if our taste for the exotic is part of the problem? Every time we reach out for something new and unusual at the supermarket, we may inadvertently contribute to a cycle of waste. Fickle consumer trends can lead food suppliers to overproduce certain trendy items, only for them to be discarded when the next big thing comes along. Perishing produce. Climate change's assault on fruit crops, vineyards, orchards, and berry farms. They all share a delicate relationship with their environment. Unfortunately, climate change doesn't care for such subtleties. Severe weather events like late frosts or relentless droughts can decimate fruit crops that took years to cultivate, leaving farmers with nothing but barren land and mounting debt. It's a stark reminder that our choices at the dining table are inextricably linked to the health of the earth. Soilless solutions, the future of crop cultivation. Imagine fields of green not bound by the soil underfoot. That's right. Innovative agricultural techniques like hydroponics and aeroponics are already enabling crops to be grown without a speck of soil. These groundbreaking approaches not only conserve space and resources, but also offer resilience against soil-borne diseases and pests. In a world on the brink of a food security crisis, such inventive methods could play a pivotal role in shaping how we sustainably feed our expanding global family. Part 1. The Ecological Footprint of Modern Agriculture, a Double-Edged Sword. Today's agricultural landscape boasts an unprecedented level of productivity, a testament to human innovation. Tractors comb the fields with precision. Seeds engineered for resilience promise bountiful yields, and a cocktail of chemical aids ward off pests and disease. However, this bounty casts a long shadow over the ecological equilibrium. The key message here is: modern farming techniques are a major contributor to our current ecological crisis. Historically, Agricultural progress has centered around maximizing output while minimizing toil. From humble, subsistence-driven origins to a behemoth industry chasing profit, agriculture's evolution peaked with the Green Revolution post-World War II. The breakthroughs in fertilizers, irrigation, and seed genetics led to a 200% surge in our food reserves. Celebrated for its triumphs, the Green Revolution's shadow aspects were not immediately apparent. The ecological fallout from excessive chemical inputs has since rippled through our waters, soils, and even the insect populations that are integral to ecosystem health. Pest resilience has escalated the chemical arms race, with farmers resorting to harsher concoctions to defend their crops. Digging deeper, climate change, fueled by industrial agriculture. Moreover, industrial agriculture's carbon emissions are staggering, accountable for around 1/5 of global greenhouse gas release annually, outpacing other sectors. And yet, in an ironic twist, while production booms, hunger persists. The harsh reality is that over 800 million people face undernourishment despite the abundance. The global food supply chain is rife with inefficiencies, leading to the distressing fact that about 1/3 of all food produced goes uneaten. Finding balance, merging technology with tradition. In light of these challenges, a call rings out from sustainable food champions. Dismantle the current system and return to the agrarian roots. It's a beautiful idea, the noble return to the earth, forsaking synthetic aids for the pure touch of nature. However, this vision is not without its pitfalls. The technological advancements in farming have drastically reduced costs, translating to more accessible prices for consumers. Undoing this progress could mean pricing out the most vulnerable populations who already struggle in the current system. The path forward is not a single track, but a network of intersecting solutions, bringing tradition and innovation into harmony. It's about integrating smart technology with ecological practices, ensuring we nourish an ever-growing world population sustainably. This vision requires collaboration and creativity, a fusion of time-honored wisdom and cutting-edge science to forge a food system that not only feeds but also heals the planet. Part 2. Climate's Chill on Orchards. The Silent Struggle of Fruit Crops. Biting into a fresh, juicy fruit is one of life's simple pleasures. But behind that sweetness lies a harsh reality. Fruit production is in a precarious battle with the climate. Temperatures that seesaw unpredictably between extremes threaten the very essence of fruit cultivation. The key message here is, the increase in extreme weather is decimating the fruit industry. The tale of Michigan in 2012 paints a clear picture. Known for its cherries and apples, standing proud as America's top cherry producer and ranking third for apples, Michigan experienced a weather anomaly. An unseasonably warm winter led to an early bloom, and the subsequent April freeze scorched the blossoming crops, leading to a loss reverberating through the industry to the tune of $500 million. Research from Michigan State University unveiled a growing pattern hidden within a century of weather data. Before the 1940s, spring freezes were sporadic, occurring fewer than 10 times annually. Fast forward to the present day, and the frequency has nearly doubled. Aside from the raw increase in freeze events, the issue is exacerbated by higher average temperatures. Fruits like cherries and apples have a strict seasonal script to follow. The cycle of cold needed to bloom, and fruit hinges on the accrual of chilling units. As warmer winters prevail, the trees enter a state of super-chilling, blooming prematurely, a setup for disaster when inevitable freezes return. The destructive outcome was mirrored in 2016, with peach trees in New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Rhode Island blooming over a month early and then succumbing completely to a mid-February freeze. The plight isn't isolated to chillier climes. California's once fertile farmlands also bear the brunt, with droughts wreaking havoc on strawberries, grapes, almonds, and more. This pattern of loss traces lines across the global map. In these dire circumstances, farmers have turned to drastic, if ingenious, stopgaps. Frost fans and, quite remarkably, helicopters create downdrafts to circulate warmer air to vulnerable trees during cold snaps. All the while, horticulturists are in a race against time, breeding new variants of fruit trees more resilient to a changing climate's unpredictable moods. Part 3. Embracing Tech to Quench Our Crops. The Innovation Wave in Drought Relief. As the backbone of agriculture, water's scarcity poses a dire challenge to feeding a thirsty world. Drought has become an all-too-familiar adversary, stretching its parched fingers across the globe and threatening the vitality of our food systems. The question looms: how do we counter this desiccation? The key message here is: technological advances will play a key role in providing drought relief. A beacon of hope shines through in the form of genetic modification. Despite the skepticism that pervades the West, the consensus among scientific authorities like the World Health Organization is clear. GMOs are not a menace to health. In fact, their potential to combat food insecurity could be transformative, especially in drought-prone regions. Kenya provides a salient case study. After initial resistance and a ban on GMOs in 2012, the Kenyan government is now revisiting the technology, inspired partly by successes with genetically modified corn resistant to pests and aridity. The laboratory results are promising. Pest-resistant crops are flourishing, while pesticide use dwindles. The pursuit of drought-resistant strains is more complex, yet the progress is stirring, hinting at a new horizon for bioengineering. However, crafting crops to weather dry spells is only part of the solution. The other lies in irrigating lands to foster fertility where there was none. Enter Israel, the desert nation that has morphed into an agricultural marvel, achieving 95% self-sufficiency. Thanks to ingenious irrigation methods, including seawater desalination and wastewater recycling, Israel has performed an agrarian miracle. The value of water demands not a drop be squandered. Israel's sophisticated software scans its water network rigorously, detecting even the slightest leaks and maintaining a mere 10% loss in supply. A stark contrast to the United States, which sees about 30% slip through the cracks annually. This impressive system carries a hefty price tag, placing it out of reach for many. While cities with deep pockets have adopted the Israeli model, the quest continues to devise accessible means to nurture more food with less water. As the planet thirsts, innovation must flow, and the fusion of genetic wizardry with advanced irrigation heralds a hopeful chapter in humanity's tale of survival against drought. Part 4. Growing without the soil. The rise of indoor farming. As our world burgeons, with appetites swelling in tandem, the very land we've long depended on for sustenance is shrinking beneath our feet. In densely populated regions like China, where over 1 billion people vie for nourishment, arable land is a precious commodity in short supply. So then, with this pressing equation of more mouths and less land, where do we turn? The key message here is: indoor farming is a promising new development in agriculture. This isn't about coaxing traditional crops to endure adverse conditions, but an entire paradigm shift. We're not just adjusting plants, we're reinventing their habitats. While greenhouses have been part of our agricultural repertoire since Roman times, today's indoor farming takes shape in many forms, from the rudimentary structures much like those ancient greenhouses to the futuristic realms of climate-controlled vertical farms. Indoor agriculture has sprouted up globally, flourishing in places like the Netherlands and Japan, where conventional farming faces formidable challenges. For instance, Japan's push toward indoor farming surged following the Fukushima nuclear disaster in 2011, which compromised vast swathes of farmland. In the quest for local, organic produce, facilities such as AeroFarms in New Jersey shine, operating without pesticides, reducing water and fertilizer usage substantially. Aeroponics, another pioneering method, goes a step further, forgoing soil entirely. plants are suspended in the air and nourished by a nutrient-rich mist, a spectacle of agricultural science fiction turned reality. Yet, for all its benefits, indoor farming does shadow some significant trade-offs. The artificial lighting essential to mimic the sun's rays gobbles up energy at a staggering rate. In places like Almeria, Spain, where greenhouses sprawl, the environmental toll mounts with heaps of plastic and agricultural runoff. Proponents of indoor farming aren't envisioning a total upheaval of traditional agriculture. Rather, they see it complementing outdoor farms, especially for perishable produce, sensitive to erratic weather patterns. Meanwhile, the staple crops, corn, wheat, rice, and soybeans, would remain inhabitants of the open fields. Our diets, rich and varied, span beyond the plant kingdom. Proteins, whether plant-based or sourced from meat and fish, are a staple for many. And it's precisely in this domain where the technological undercurrents of innovation are stirring some of the most revolutionary changes yet. Part 5. Innovative Strides in Protein Production. The meat industry's technological revolution. Protein forms the cornerstone of diets worldwide, whether gleaned from the ocean's depths or from land-roaming livestock. As the global population climbs, so does the pressure on the meat industry to provide safe, sustainable options for the billions who rely on it. The key message here is, the meat industry is behind some of the most radical technological innovations in agriculture. Despite the vastness of our oceans, a mere 2% of our food comes from these waters. Advocates for marine sustenance assert that unlocking the potential of the seas is crucial for the future of food. Yet, the sustainability of industrial fishing teeters precariously, as overfishing has placed numerous species at risk, and rising ocean temperatures complicate the equation even further. Enter the wave of aquaculture innovation, exemplified by salmon farms in Norway investing in sophisticated closed environment systems. These systems are dual protectors, shielding salmon from the detrimental effects of warming waters and external parasites, while concurrently safeguarding the environment from the farm's waste. As traditional fishing confronts tightening ecological constraints, such forward-thinking practices become imperative. Fish farming poses a stark contrast to land-animal husbandry, with a far more favorable input-to-output ratio for feed and a lower carbon footprint, addressing the broader concerns of livestock farming's contribution to greenhouse gas emissions. On land, eco-conscious ranchers are implementing smarter grazing tactics and even exploring cattle cloning to reduce environmental impacts. However, the pricey nature of these solutions keeps them out of reach for many. Venturing into radical territory, some companies aim to reinvent meat production entirely. Products like the Impossible Burger have captured public attention, while Memphis Meats in Silicon Valley pioneers a lab-grown meat venture. Their product, cultured from animal tissue samples, boasts the familiar taste of conventional meat without the need for raising and slaughtering animals. Despite the impressively accurate mimicry of these meat alternatives, it's unlikely they'll oust traditional animal protein sources globally, particularly in developing nations. This underscores the need for the meat industry to persevere in refining practices, to prioritize animal welfare, ecological considerations, and operational efficiency. The journey to a more benevolent, green, and effective food system is a mosaic of cultural, economic, and technological endeavors, with the meat industry at the forefront of remarkable changes reshaping our approach to agriculture. Part 6. Tackling the Mound, a focused approach to reducing food waste. Waste begets waste, an adage that rings regrettably true when we look at the prodigious amount of food American households discard. Alongside this domestic disposal, farms too are contributing to the dilemma, with mountains of perfectly edible produce never even crossing the threshold of a grocery store. The key message here is food waste is a challenging but not insurmountable problem. The paradox of food waste is tightly intertwined with our consumer behavior. In a culture that increasingly values fresh, healthy eating, the irony is that such diets are often the most wasteful, Whether it's an aversion to unfamiliar tastes, a misjudgment on food safety, or a disdain for less than perfect aesthetics. The reasons we toss food are many. Curbing this overflow of waste begins with a change of mindset. That oddly shaped vegetable or slightly blemished fruit, chances are it's just as nutritious and delicious as its picture-perfect counterparts. It's critical to look beyond the surface and trust our senses rather than rely solely on best buy dates, which are often conservative estimates rather than firm spoilage timelines. Moving from prevention to recovery, innovative food rescue initiatives are taking root in cities like Copenhagen and London. These programs bridge the gap between excess food in restaurants and markets and the scarcity faced by shelters and food banks. This concept of sharing our abundance is a community reinforcement, where helping hands reach across fence lines to balance the scales of sustenance amongst neighbors. Even with the most diligent efforts, some waste is inevitable. In such cases, composting enters the scene. Yet here, too, our enthusiasm must be tempered with caution. The mere existence of municipal composting systems can paradoxically inflate waste levels, with the misconception that composting absolves consumers of responsibility. It's a clever remedy, but it's not a panacea. Prevention must always lead the charge. Eradicating food waste entirely may be a utopian dream, but through mindful consumption, savvy resource redistribution, and responsible disposal practices, we can significantly diminish the piles of wasted bounty. Every thoughtful decision in our kitchens, stores, and communities chips away at the issue. Bit by bit, we can make a substantial dent in the global food waste conundrum. Final summary. In the face of a swiftly evolving planet, humanity stands at an agricultural crossroads. With a burgeoning global population and an increasingly volatile climate, the agricultural practices of yesteryear are buckling under the pressure of modern demands. The challenge is monumental. How do we adapt our food production systems to feed everyone sustainably? The key message here is, in a world where change is the only constant, our food supply systems must evolve to keep pace. This isn't a call to discard the wisdom of traditional farming methods. Rather, it's an invitation to enhance these practices with the ingenuity of modern technology. As we sail into this uncharted territory, a vanguard of innovative farmers and scientists has already begun trailblazing the path forward. They're pioneering solutions that promise plentiful yields while nurturing the environment, a harmonious blend of the old and the new. Their tireless work aims to secure a future where hunger is obsolete and food sources are as resilient as they are abundant. Through their efforts, they're sowing the seeds for a world where every last person has access to the nutrition they need without the earth bearing an unsustainable burden. This is the vision for a world well fed and a planet well cared for. A delicate balance that, with the right mix of tradition and technology, is entirely within our reach. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.